Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today I want to talk to you about how do you design a cold frame with a sunken bottom, and why is that important? What does it do for you? This is a cold frame. Both of these are the same company. They're made by Jewel. I don't necessarily recommend them and I'm not affiliated with them, but they're the exact same cold frame. Notice the wood frame right down at the bottom. I've dug down there 16 inches. Those are 8-inch boards, and by digging down you get to the warmth of the earth, which helps regulate the temperature in the greenhouse, keep it warmer. Why is that important? Because over the last 30 days that these peppers have been out, we've gotten temperatures below 32 degrees in the upper 20s, and they've been perfectly safe. This is a standard cold frame. It's just sitting on the ground. And this video is really all about how you design this, why it works, and what you might use it for. And obviously what you can see is I have really nice pepper transplants as of March 6th. They can't really go into my ground because my last frost date is May 15th, but I can grow really strong plants down there. They're going to be ready for the ground. And what I'm using is the warmth of the earth down about 16 inches to keep these plants safe during the night. So let's talk about why this works. This is your standard cold frame sitting on the earth. Here in Maryland, the top of the earth can freeze 1 to 2 inches depending on temperatures. So right now, if the earth froze out here, unprotected, that cold and that freeze is going to seep into the inside. The temperatures here are going to really pretty much match the temperatures outside if you have a prolonged freeze outside. If you have temperature drops at night that last for a couple of hours, it's just not going to hold extra warmth. So if you put your pepper plants in here beginning of March or beginning of February like I did, if you drop down to below freezing, it's not going to take long for the freezing temperatures to get in there. Of course, during the day you have the top on, it warms up, you get the warmth of the cold frame, but you're not getting regulation of the temperature inside at night using the depth of the earth, and I'll explain that in a second, like you do when you come right over to this cold frame. The peppers here have been in a cold frame for about 4 weeks. They've had at least a week, if not 2 weeks worth of nights that got below 32 degrees, some nights the upper 20s. The reason this works is the soil temperature at the base. I went down 16 inches. If you're in a zone that's colder, gets colder winters, then Maryland, maybe you want to go down to 24 inches. If you go past 24 inches, it's really hard to reach in there. If you're in a place that has warmer winters, but you still get freezing winters, maybe you could go down 12 inches. But 16 inches works best, I think, here in Maryland. The temperature at the base of these containers, I don't know exactly what it is, but for the sake of the point, let's just say it stays at 35 to 40 degrees no matter what happens with the temperature out here. Because the soil is down 16 inches, the mass of the soil and the earth below the soil line here really stays at a regulated temperature. And that means when the temperatures drop outside and the ground freezes or the cold air, really drastically reduces the temperature here, it doesn't really seep into here. The wood insulates it. The warmth of the earth at 16 inches stays at a pretty consistent rate, and that protects these plants from freezing when the temperatures out here get down to 31, 30, even to the mid-20s. If it got really cold, I could throw a blanket over here. That would help protect it a little bit longer. But as of February, I put my pepper plants out here. They look amazing. They're staying nice and green. They're growing slowly. They're establishing the root system, and they look great. And they're not being bothered by frost. And again, I just sunk boards down 16 inches. You secure the frame. Let's see if I can find. There's a little screw like right there in the back. You just secure it so that this frame doesn't blow away or move. And you can put your plants out really early and create a temperature that's regulated, staying above 35 degrees, no frost, no freeze. And not only does the earth regulate how warm it stays, keeping this above freezing for your warm weather crops, it also regulates how hot it gets. So again, beginning of March, even with the cold frame closed, full sunny day, 65, 70 degrees, which we get sometimes still, this doesn't overheat and damage the plant. So the depth really regulates the temperatures from getting too high and from getting too cold. And the beauty of doing something like this is that you could actually start your seeds a whole lot earlier. You can, set something up like this, put your cool weather crops in early, maybe in January. January is probably too early to put your peppers in there because we still sometimes get a frost and freeze at night that may last 6-8 hours and go into the day. You kind of want to start putting your warm weather crops out, just FYI, here in Maryland. When the days are staying above freezing and the nights are slightly dipping into freezing, it seems to work best. They can handle a little bit of more intense fluctuation, but this is perfect for putting out your cool weather crops in seed trays. Maybe you don't want to spend all the money on grow lights and growing stuff indoors. You could put the flats in here. The temperatures stay regulated, get sunshine, you won't really have to acclimate the plants. All your cool weather crops are going to germinate in here, even if the temperatures drop below freezing there. They can take that. But this is just a great way to really expand when you can start different plants, when you can put different plants outdoors. And I'm going to have just beautiful large pepper plants in the next 6 weeks to go out into my garden. Some quick info on the build. You can build it multiple ways. I like to have the frame about 2 inches above the soil surface. So if cold air settles, cold air will sink. It's going to be a little bit harder for it to seep in here. You want it to be nice and level so that there's a nice seal between your cold frame and the wood. These boards I think are 1x8s. You want at least a 1-inch kind of span right there so that your frame sits securely on it. When you're building it, you may have to do it in layers. I did, 2 layers, 8-inch and 8-inch, and just secure each layer, top layer to the bottom layer. This way it doesn't shift or anything like that. And again, I showed you the screw. Just go ahead and secure in the frame in some way. There's multiple screws in here so that the frame doesn't blow away. It works really well. It's effective. I've had this for years. Really experimented with it, so I'm glad to show you how it works because I can stand behind it. Simple build I don't know why I can't say that word. Simple build, works really well. Give it a try. What I really like about this is the science behind it, and it works. So I don't know what the soil temperature stays at, generally speaking, when you go down 16 inches or so, but let's just say 40 degrees. Hot air, warm air rises, cold air sinks. So while the temperatures are dropping up here, maybe it's 32 degrees up here, the cold air is settling, the temperature down there is warmer than 32, let's just say 40, that heat is rising. So as the heat rises, it's mixing with the cooler air up here, and it's stopping that cold, frosty air getting down here and freezing and damaging the leaves. And that's just a consistent temperature the soil stays at, and it continually works like that. Again, if we had prolonged periods of freezing temperature well below 32, these plants would be affected, I think, negatively. But as of the beginning of February, they've been perfectly safe out here, just working off that principle. The warmth of the soil down at depth gives back, the heat rises at night, and keeps a cushion of the right temperature around here. Now, not perfect temperature for these to thrive and grow, crazily, but to protect them. And then during the day, it heats up to 60 degrees in there, 70 degrees in there. The peppers grow a little bit more, the root systems grow a little bit more, and I'm getting what I want. This is just a fun way to garden, learn a little bit about science, and use the principles that have been working for a very, very long time. And one more time, you can see the frame, the wood frame, 16 inches deep. No frame over there. And if you don't have plants, I could start my warm weather crops sooner. I could put a flat of the warm weather crops really out now, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, a little bit too early for squash and zucchini, and get them growing outdoors in a sunken cold frame. And again, you always save yourself money by growing your own transplant. You're not paying $3-4 a plant. And if you don't want to set up the grow light station, you can certainly grow your transplants outdoors like this. I recommend at least having one cold frame that has that depth, because you're going to find you're going to love it. You're going to use it a lot. Anyway, this is an option. Standard cold frame, sunken cold frame. I highly recommend the sunken cold frame. Thanks for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com and give this a try. You will really, really enjoy it, and it will not change the way you garden, but it's going to extend the way that you grow plants, that it's going to extend the enjoyment that you have in your garden, and really it's just a lot of fun to experiment and do different things. Again, thanks for watching.